Namaste and welcome viewers. You're watching Mirror Prime. It's me, Ashish Pareek, and again we've come up with a very interesting debate, something that a lot of sports fans have been talking about over the past 1 week. The one-off test between Afghanistan and New Zealand in Greater Noida has now turned into an international embarrassment. What was meant to be a historic encounter has now ended up being a flop show with infrastructural failures, embarrassing conditions, and also poor logistical choices, ruining what could have been a memorable event in India. The lack of proper facilities was glaring from the start. Fans were used to dry the soggy outfield while groundsmen attempted to transplant patches from grass from practice areas to the outfield. In fact, the venue was also woefully underprepared and it became a disaster zone following rain interruptions, revealing inadequate drainage systems and also insufficient ground staff to manage the situation. The field, especially the mid-on and the mid-wicket, was left unplayable, forcing ground staff to cover it with sawdust, far from what one would expect from an international venue. There were also murmurs that some Afghanistan Cricket Board members were upset over being given such a poorly maintained venue. However, as the news spread, the ACB then backtracked, admitting that they had voluntarily chosen Noida over Kanpur and Bengaluru. They cited logistical convenience due to its proximity with Delhi as a deciding factor. But the big question here is, why would a board representing a national team compromise on such basic playing conditions? Although persistent rain did play a part in the postponement of the play, the crux of the problem lay in the venue's poor infrastructure. This debacle is now reflecting poorly on Indian cricket, especially given that India boasts of having the world's richest cricket board with over 50 international stadiums available in the country. How did Noida even make it to the list of stadiums that was offered to Afghanistan? All said and done, for Afghanistan, this was not just a lost opportunity but also a bitter lesson. The ACB's hasty selection of a logistically convenient but a substandard ground may haunt them for some time to come. To discuss this and a lot more, joining us on the broadcast is Bimal Soni, who's a former manager of the Indian cricket team, Joseph Hoover, who's a cricket writer, and Chandrasekhar Luthra, senior sports journalist. Bimalji, let me start with you now. Before we get into the details of who chose the venue, who is responsible and all that, let's talk about what happened at the Shaheed Vijay Singh Pathik Sports Complex in Greater Noida. Electric fans were used to dry the pitch. Groundsmen were trying to cut pieces of grass from the practice facility and plant them in the outfield of the main ground. Caterers were seen washing utensils in the washroom. What a colossal flop show in the name of an international test match.
Well, what I have to say is that this ground has been chosen by administrators who should have seen that basic facilities required for an international match were not there on the ground. I don't know, somebody did this favor to this ground because the match could have been organized anywhere in Delhi. I believe there are more than 5-7 grounds where this international match could have taken place, which is closer to Noida. So I think it's a colossal failure on part of the administrators to have decided on this ground. I have nothing against individual anybody, but I think with the kind of rainy season and with the kind of rains taking place in Delhi, they should have taken all precautions. Trying to do patchwork by bringing in mud, bringing in cutouts from the dry zones cannot replace the original ground. And I think whatever who has done it has done a grave mistake in international cricket, and ICC should see to it that next time these kind of faults don't happen in organization. As far as BCCI is concerned, they do their job much better, but I believe they were also not involved in this match, and this was done directly by the Afghan board officials along with the locals who have supported them. So I have nothing to comment except that this is a big failure on part of ICC, Afghan board and the organizers who tried to put this match at a neutral venue in India.
Absolutely. Also, Joseph Hoover, the last I looked up, India says it has around 50 international stadiums. The BCCI says so. are we being told now that we didn't have a better ground to offer Afghanistan? And what's more surprising here is that even they chose such an underprepared ground. What could be the reason?
See, one is for convenience, as the Afghan Cricket Board has said. They wanted something closer to Delhi, so they chose that place. But obviously, they were not prepared for this kind of a situation. I mean, it's sitting here, we could say that this could have been done, that could have been done. But the problem here lies with the people who took the decision. Whoever chose this venue, even if
But
Afghanistan is
Joseph,
saying,
sorry to
okay, we
interrupt
want
you.
to.
You said they were not prepared for such a situation, but is this a brain fade moment for Afghanistan cricket? Because how do you expect an international cricket board, which is all set to play an international test match, not to know if a ground that they're playing on is ready to host a match, is ready to withstand any condition? It's just unbelievable.
No, they should have done their recce. And then if you look at the weather, how it is panned out across India, the extreme climate events have started even impacting cricket, not just human beings and animals and forests. It's also impacting cricket. So let's understand that they wouldn't have been prepared. They would have thought things would be hunky dory when they come. They can play a good test match. It'd be a good exposure for the players. And New Zealand also were looking forward to a good test where they could have won. I mean, it could have been a good game, but unfortunately, what has happened is here I believe that the BCCI should have stepped in. They should have stepped in. It's nice to say that BCCI is not involved in that because it's happening in India. It's the reputation of India which has been marred now. So they should have taken precautions and said, okay, this is not what should be done. Maybe we could shift the venue somewhere else. And when they were offering Kanpur and Bangalore, they could have opted for one of the two venues. Because if you look at Bangalore, even if it rains heavily, we got the sub-air system. Within about half an hour, the ground will be ready to play. And this is some example that we need to have in across all major centers in India. Even be it Ahmedabad, we talk about the world's largest cricket stadium, the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. So when we all talk so big, we have huge resources, we have logistics, we have everything. And this is a more utter failure, I would say, because
Correct.
the board could have stepped in and said, yes, there are issues here. Let's think about this. They could have told the Afghan cricket board, listen, we can move this venue somewhere else. Somewhere, I think we're all busy counting money.
Absolutely. The BCCI
We have
should have
forgotten.
stepped in. Chandrasekhar Luthra, at the end of the day, this whole mess is playing out in India. Yes, BCCI is not obligated to offer grounds to everyone, but why was Noida even an option if it is so unprepared? Now, this is a massive embarrassment for India as well, which boasts of having the richest cricket board. So, even though we are not directly involved, at the end of the day, it is our backyard where it's happening. And at the end of the day, it's BCCI and Indian cricket that's going to be embarrassed in front of the entire world.
Well, I think Mr. Soni and Joseph, they are being very polite and not taking names. But let me tell you, there are checklists to be followed. To be, whenever give any status, whether it's a national status or the international status to any stadium, there are checklists, and there are also checklists before announcing that this is a venue for T20 for one day, and there are different centers. If there are 50 centers in India, there are about 14, 15 which are test centers, then one day centers. There is a checklist to be followed. And who gave the test status to this ground? Let me tell you. Because the BCCI, they are not involved, but they are also involved. They have cleared the status of this ground. This ground was a home ground for Afghanistan for a long time. And they were also been, training in Dehradun. But one of the BCCI vice president now he's a political middleman. He's a cricket middleman. You can call him anything. I can call him by name, Mr. Rajiv Shukla. He was promoting this stadium. For long, he was calling the journalists, so everybody there, because he had interest in this stadium. Now he has shifted his attention to Ekana Stadium in Lucknow. So the point is, when a particular individual who is very powerful or not powerful, but who is a known middleman, when he is promoting some stadium, then obviously the clearance was given by the BCCI, and that's how, under pressure or whether under pressure or by convenience or anything, but Afghan board chose this ground. So there were, if there were not, super soaker there, if there were not complete covers for the ground, despite being the richest cricket board in the world, if India has not all these equipments, in a test center, then this should be embarrassment for Mr. Jaja, for Mr. Roger Binley, for Mr. Rajiv Shukla, everybody. Point is, who has cleared, who has given the clearance to the center? And now, when this embarrassment has happened to India, now we are trying to, say that yes, this was monsoons, extended monsoon, whatever things are. Point is, there is no super soaker. Super soaker cost how much? I think 10-15 lakhs. Nothing much. Entire ground covers. I have seen, Sri Lanka having the entire cricket cover, for the grounds in 2005 and all. In India, there were no cricket, entire grounds, cover till 2008, 2009. So, I mean, being richest is one thing. Being the best is another thing. So you have to fix the blame. You have to take them to the task. Whatever be the whosoever be the people who gave clearance, because there is a committee who gives clearances to the grounds.
Absolutely. Bimalji, I want your response to this. Whose accountability is this? At the end of the day, it's Indian cricket that's getting embarrassed now, because no matter who cleared it, who didn't clear it, who played there, who didn't play there, the fact of the matter is now it looks like Indian cricket, despite being the richest board in the world, is incompetent to have even basic drainage facilities at an international ground, which is offered to international teams to have an international test match. Where does the accountability stop?
Well, I think I'm with Mr. Luthra when he had said whatever he has said, that board is responsible. Board should have seen that any international match which takes place in India between two international sides has to be with the checklist, as he had mentioned. And I am telling you, this is the first time probably we are having this kind of a host, Afghanistan hosting a match in India. That's why this problem. But I think BCCI should have taken the interest, and their grounds committee and all should have approved the checklist before this was allotted internationally. So ICC along with BCCI are also responsible for seeing that such kinds of features are not done. Even if Afghanistan wants it, they should not be permitted to play on such grounds. I'm not blaming the Noida ground. There are certain checklist points for a one-day international, for a test match, which have to be followed internationally. And the following the instructions has to be done by ICC as well as BCCI, if they are in their area of influence. But I think here, openness was given to the Afghan board because they've been playing matches in Noida.
Yes.
Rajiv Shukla cannot be blamed, but Rajiv Shukla was one of the few persons who was helping Afghan board organize these kinds of matches. But he should also have seen whether this ground was fit for a test match, because he's been in the board for last 10-15 years.
Correct.
So overall, it is an embarrassment to the Indian board and we Indians who are the organizers, who are ex-cricketers, that this kind of a thing has happened in India.
Absolutely. This is the main crux. The main crux of the issue here. The fact that this is an embarrassment for Indians, for Indian cricket, because Joseph, what we saw here is now Afghan players. Of course, anonymous quotes also they're coming in of Afghan team officials as well, who are saying that the facilities in Afghanistan are much better than what they see here in India. Imagine. Richest cricket board in the world. We host IPL. We pay crores and crores of rupees to cricketers around the world. And now we have some Afghanistan officials coming out and saying that, well, they see better facilities in a country like Afghanistan than in India. What could be worse for Indian cricket?
If that is true, it is a damning statement. It has irrevocably damaged Indian cricket's image. You just imagine, we have Jabagal Srinath, one of our former international cricketers, who's now the match referee. He has to suffer this embarrassment himself, being an Indian. He is there trying everything possible to ensure the match gets on. But when you see there are no facilities there, there are zero facilities. As Luthra was talking about the checklist. See, these are things which are basic. Everybody should know it's ground condition. Yes, A, B, C, D. You have good dressing room. And there's
But
ICC
Joseph, sorry to
committee.
interrupt you there. Couldn't Jawgal Srinath flag it off? Help me understand what's the role of the match referee here. Being a match
He
referee, I'm sure Jawgal Srinath
decided.
has played so much international cricket. He knows
Yes.
what is the basic requirement of a ground to host an international cricket match, international test match. Couldn't he flag it off earlier?
No, there's nothing he can do. He can only oversee what happens. Now, definitely in his report, he's going to come down hard. He's going to clearly define what happened and what should not happen in the future. Because this is a huge embarrassment. We are talking about world champions. We are the richest board. We have our secretary becoming the ICC president. All that, and then at the same time, we have this kind of embarrassment. Just imagine, I've seen matches where in certain areas where they've used charcoal, they burn the charcoal on the pitches to dry it. But here they're bringing
Correct.
fans, even fans are being
Correct.
used elsewhere. I've seen in certain matches. And fans are being brought and they're bringing patches of grass and patching the other areas where it is wet. I mean, this is not on. I mean, we take pride. When I talk about cricket, I take pride in saying I'm an Indian. I want our Indian cricket to be the best. We should be the best board. But as Luthra said, being the richest is fine, but being the best is important. And are we doing the right things? Do we have the right people
Correct.
there?
Correct.
Unfortunately, it's not happening. It's all becoming political appointments. They should understand that this politics can play out for a while. Cricket has to be protected. We need to get on to that. We need to
No.
understand. We need to protect the game. We need to protect the image of
I'll pick up from
India,
that point
not
of
just
what
in small
the
political
fact that you were
games.
quoting Mr. Luthra there, because it's a very catchy line, but I think it holds true for Indian cricket right now. Having so much money does not make you the best. I mean, for example, Mr. Luthra, we saw what happened in the World Cup as well. Spectators there at Hyderabad Stadium were complaining of stinking toilets, broken chairs, inadequate entry points. So clearly, we have all the money in the world. We spent hundreds of crores on stadiums as well for the renovation ahead of the World Cup, and still we had seen how the chairs were dirty, the toilets were unclean. So at the end of the day, where's all this money going?
Any cricket, I mean, not stadium, but any cricket body, state cricket body is getting approximately 100 crores a year. You know how much they spend on cricket? I mean, if it's a state like Mumbai or maybe couple of other states, about 8 to 10 crores. Rest all the bills they have to produce for 90 crores or so. And when you talk about the stinking toilets and all, let me tell you, Delhi Cricket Stadium has spent, on one couple of years back, not couple of 5, 6, 7 years back, I did a story where they spent about 3 to 4 crores only on one toilet, not the entire toilet. So they were probably, putting in sona, chandi, and all this stuff, into that. But again, the problem here is we are being run by all the cricket in India being run by unprofessional people, right from Jai Shah to Rajiv Shukla, who have nothing to do with cricket, who have no knowledge about cricket. Let's be very clear. They are running the show. And that's how you have to, whether it's Javagal Srinath, I have great respect for him. I know Joseph Hoover. He has done great service to the cricket, by writing good stories. But the problem is here, Srinath or anybody else, they are there to protect the interest of Mr. Jai Shah and all these unprofessional people. They are not going to blame them. And nobody in the ICC has the guts to point fingers at BCCI. Otherwise, their money will be cut. And now being and also you have to blame the New Zealand side also. They must have had their recce team, coming there. That's the procedure. They come to see the venues, then they clear the venues as per the facilities. Did they not see what was the stadium, facilities was like? I mean, you have to blame everybody, but because India is the richest and the most powerful country in the cricket, in the cricket, universe, then probably, you can't point finger at them. Now, being the ICC head, let me tell you, there will also be no checklist, nothing. Wherever he will put signatures, all the venues will be cleared. I have no doubts about that. And I have all the, on a serious note, I think it's a shame for Indian cricket. It's a shame for BCCI that they put this stadium on the test center, list. It's a great shame to them.
Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Bimal Soni ji, I mean, you've been a manager of the Indian cricket team. You know what exactly happens inside the team. help us understand what would be the mood like. For example, New Zealand. We've seen quotes that are coming out from Afghanistan camp, but New Zealand has maintained a dignified silence, but they will speak. They will speak on a later occasion. Help us understand what would be the mood like in the New Zealand camp, because they've traveled all the way here to India to play at a stadium which is not even prepared, and they are now going to fly back without having, even attended the toss as well. So it's an embarrassment. Help us understand the morale of the players and also the morale of the teams when something like this happens.
Well, I am very clear. New Zealand team would be very disappointed, first. Secondly, the players and the managers, they cannot speak, because when this venue was finalized, people from New Zealand would have come. They have to approve the venue, if it's a new venue, before they play the match there. So the fault lies with the officials, whether it's Indian officials, whether it is Afghan officials,
But
or whether
Bimalji,
it is
sorry to
New
interrupt
Zealand
you. How
officials,
exactly
or whether
was
it
this
is the
venue
ICC.
even approved?
So the blame...
There's no proper drainage facility. There weren't enough covers. The ground staff was not trained. Absolutely lack of facilities everywhere you look. How exactly was this ground cleared? That's the big question.
That is what I'm coming to. That when the team came to inspect, the international team, to approve this as a test match center, then obviously it was manipulated, or they didn't take seriously the checklist. They didn't check the points which were very important, even washing of utensils in the bathroom. So all that what we are seeing now is a fall of standards in the ICC recce. And they should have seen, when these things were not available, that this ground is not approved for test match and international matches. So this is something which
Absolutely.
BCCI should be punished for. Afghan, being the host, should have seen. They could have taken better grounds which are available, rather than see the comfort of the travel of the team or logistics. So I am very clear, this is a fiasco in which all the officials of all the three boards are involved. And we should see that this is never repeated, at least in India. I'm sure this would not have happened in a place like Australia or England. So I am not, happy with whatever has happened with such a well-organized BCCI Richest board, which could have done anything to save our goodwill.
Absolutely. Bimal Soni ji, a very good point that you made there. What's the point of having all
And
the
one
money in
last
the
thing
world,
I would like
the
to
biggest
say-
cricket league? I mean, the payouts. Right, go ahead.
What
No,
I wanted
normally
to
what
add on
happens,
was that any time now, if there are neutral matches, neutral at neutral ground, the local board should see that they take things in their hand, because if there is a fault there, the blame will come to the board where it is organized.
Absolutely. Right, Bimal Soni ji, like you rightly pointed out, accountability has to be fixed, especially given the fact that we boast of being the richest cricket board in the country, having the biggest franchise league as well. But what's the point if we don't even have proper drainage facilities at an international ground, which is all set to host an international test match? You see people washing utensils in the washrooms. I mean, these are embarrassing visuals, not just for Indian cricket, for us, but for India as a whole. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast for this very important discussion about Indian cricket and also the lack of accountability when it comes to such events as well. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. Viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Mirror Prime. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.